Welcome to Surrender School.
What foods do you sneak eat? What foods do you try to hide that you've already eaten? Start writing. Okay, third question. What foods do you eat when you're alone that you would never dream of eating in front of anyone else? This question drips with shame, doesn't it? Okay. When you go to a restaurant, what foods are you excited about ordering? You know, I'm talking about that anticipatory little food dance that we do when we know we're going to one of our favorite restaurants and we know we're going to get to order this thing that we love. That totally gives us our effect. What are those foods? Go ahead. Okay. Fifth question. When you are grocery shopping, what are the foods in your cart that you can't wait to get home and eat? What foods do you eat in the car even before you get home? Go ahead. Okay, last food question. What foods do you reach for after a really, really hard day at work or with family? What do you naturally reach for? Okay, now I'm going to stop sharing for a minute here. So now let's take a look at your actual food behaviors. Now, here's my list. Again, it's not your list, it's my list. Eating while watching TV was number one. Eating while watching TV was perfect oblivion for me. I could completely leave my body and the planet and not have to deal with anything. It was a perfect escape for me. So eating while watching TV, eating while reading. I don't know about you, but how many times, I would read the latest diet book while binging. You know, I would do that. It was something I did routinely. Eating in the car, eating while doing food prep. Sneak eating and hiding food is huge trigger for me. And eating while using my smartphone. So whether I'm surfing or reading articles or news articles or whatever, watching YouTube videos, whatever. So some other typical problematic eating behaviors that I've heard other people say is eating till you're stuffed, even if it's abstinent food, grazing all day, eating really fast. Let's see what else. Eating while standing up. I've heard a lot of people say that. Eating while standing up at the sink or eating while standing up in front of the refrigerator. And eating late at night. That's a big one for people as well. Like after everybody goes to bed. Yeah, that's a big trigger. Okay. So we're going to put together your alcoholic food behaviors right now together. I've got 2 questions for you. So let me share and we'll get back to that. Okay. Here's the first one. You'll have 2 minutes to write on this. In what situations do you tend to overeat? Eat more than you intended. What were you doing? Who was with you? What were you thinking? Were you alone? So this is a little bit of a complicated question. Go ahead. There are only 2 questions on this. What activities do you really look forward to because you know you get to eat your favorite binge foods or eat without restraint, like going to certain restaurants, going to the movies, going on a cruise, driving alone, going to a potluck or buffet? Right, got 2 minutes. Okay. So as you go along in your abstinence and your recovery, you are going to find more foods and behaviors to add to your list. You're just going to tweak it as you go along. Don't let yourself freak out about it. Don't catastrophize about it. If you have a slip, if something happens, just add the food or the behavior to your lists and move on. Don't let it be an excuse for you to just throw everything away, leave program yet again, and then have to hit bottom again before you come back in. Okay, so now we're going to talk about another topic that I think is really important, and that's volume. Now, you'll hear people in meetings talk about being volume eaters or being addicted to volume. They are typically talking about overeating or binging on abstinent food. Okay, so it's not like they're out there in the gutter with, the chocolate and the cake and the everything else. They are overeating and binging on their abstinent foods. So basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to get their effect from the abstinent foods. Doesn't work as well. You eat enough of it, you can get some kind of an effect from it, some kind of biochemical, neurochemical effect from it, but it's not as good as our actual alcoholic foods. But that doesn't stop us from trying. So typically, this is handled by using weighing and measuring in your food plan. And I heard the collective gasp that everyone made with the thought of weighing and measuring. So this is a good segue into the topic of actual food plans. Okay. Now remember, abstinence is what we use to relieve the physical allergy. Abstinence is what we use to stop the phenomenon of craving. The purpose of your food plan is different. And this was interesting. I found this and I like this connection. You tell me what you think about it. The OA Where Do I Start pamphlet, it says, quote, "We follow our food plan one meal at a time, one day at a time. This is the beginning of learning to eat according to our physical needs rather than our emotional cravings." It goes on to say, quote, "This daily plan," this is what blew me away, "this daily plan serves to separate our eating from our emotions." I'm going to say that again. This one, yeah, what I have of my hair blew back. "This daily plan serves to separate our eating from our emotions. It clears our heads of the ongoing conflict between our self-will and the disease." So our abstinence deals with the physical allergy. Our food plan helps us decouple eating and our emotions. I'm going to say that again. Our abstinence deals with the physical allergy, and our food plan helps us decouple eating from our emotions, our mental obsession. Okay. It helps pull those two things apart so we can start to actually work on the mental obsession. So once this separation has happened, we can then work the rest of the program on our mental obsession. And we're going to get further into this in future sessions. Okay. So in addition to helping me separate food from my emotions, okay, my food plan is just a tool to help me lose weight and maintain that weight loss. There's nothing more magical about it. There are tons of food plans out there, as I know you are all well aware. Paleo, carnivore, low carb, high carb, vegan, keto. There's just ad infinitum. There's just so many of them out there. The only requirement of the food plan is that it doesn't have any of your alcoholic foods on it, period. Otherwise, the food plan doesn't really matter unless you have a medical issue that needs to be dealt with. So here are some things to keep in mind when you are putting your food plan together. The first thing is it, of course, should not include any of your alcoholic foods. That one's easy. We're not talking about, oh, we're only going to have one, or we're going to do portion control or any of that. Alcoholic foods, there is no such thing as portion control, just like there's no such thing as portion control for an alcoholic and whiskey. So those are your true alcoholic foods. They should not be on your food plan. Number two, it should be sustainable. By that, I mean, it shouldn't be crazy complicated or difficult to do. If you're not into cooking, don't use a food plan that requires you to do a crap load of cooking. But we do that to ourselves all the time, and we set ourselves up for failure doing that. So you want your food plan to be easy for you to follow. 3, your food plan should have some flexibility in it. The ability to handle unexpected situations. Situations like an old friend shows up in town and wants to go to dinner tonight, or maybe you show up at work and all of a sudden you're told you have a business lunch you have to go to. You have got to have some flexibility in your food plan. The danger of being too rigid with your food plan is that any little minor deviation gives you an excuse to say F it and go eat. So, I mean, scientists call that the what the hell effect. What the hell, like Bill says in the big book, I might as well get good and drunk then. So when we have these little deviations, it gives us that little crack in the door that we can swing wide open, dive headfirst into our food, and then we're back in the disease. Number 4. Okay. Let's talk about weighing and measuring, okay? We'll talk about it specifically right now. Like I said before, volume eaters typically have to weigh and measure their food. When I work with people, I ask this question, and I really encourage you to ask this question of yourself. Does weighing and measuring quiet the food chatter, or does it make it worse? I have sponsored both kinds of people. I am a person that the weighing and measuring tends to quiet my food chatter. But I have worked with numerous people that it makes it so much worse. So why put that on yourself if you know it's just going to lead to, going back out into the food again? And it's important here, I just want to say this. Some people use weighing and measuring as a punishment for being fat. It's almost like they're whipping themselves with the measuring spoons and the measuring cups and the scale, because they have this disease and they're fat, and they see it as punishment. So I would not encourage you to do that. I would also want you to figure out if weighing and measuring is used by you as part of your restrict and binge cycle. Like if you had bulimia, I probably wouldn't recommend, definitely not anorexia and probably not bulimia. I wouldn't recommend weighing and measuring because that's all wrapped up into their form of the disease and that binge restrict cycle. So you need to figure out if weighing and measuring should be part of your plan. I'm not saying it should be. I'm not saying it shouldn't be. You have to figure that one out for yourself. Does it quiet the food chatter or does it make it worse? Yeah, Kathy.
Sorry, I really didn't get that question.
Okay. You didn't understand the question or you didn't hear?
No, just the question. Is weigh and measure being used by me?
Does weighing and measuring quiet the food chatter?
Oh, that one I got. Was there
Or does it make it worse?
Oh, I thought there was a next question after that.
Or,
Is it-
no, not, I mean, you have to figure out whether it's works for you or not, or if it's
okay.
part of your like binge restrict cycle.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay. Number 5, please recognize that it may take a little while for you to figure out a food plan that truly works for you. Expect to make mistakes and have to tweak your plan here and there throughout your recovery. If you make it, I'm all on or I'm all off, you're going to do the restrict relapse cycle. Okay. It's just a wonderful excuse to leave program and eat because you've blown it anyway. So really, don't allow yourself to get into that kind of thinking, because that's your disease talking. Your disease sees a little crack in the door that it can get a foothold in. 6, last but not least, remember there is no magical food plan that makes being abstinent and losing weight painless. There isn't a way to do this painlessly. There's going to be some discomfort. The only magical food plan is the food plan that works for you. That's it. So tomorrow we're going to talk about detox and going through withdrawal when we put down our alcoholic foods and how to help ourselves get through it. So I do have a question for today. We've got probably about 19, 20 minutes. So I'm going to share again for our question, and I'll give us 3 minutes to write on it. So we have some time for some sharing. Let me grab it here. Okay. Here's the journaling question. What was your emotional reaction to today's topic? What did you like? What were you resistant to? I'd love to hear some shares on this.
Linda, Shirley, I had a question. What did you say abstinence was when you were explaining abstinence and then food plan?
So abstinence is really what our substance is. What is it that gives us our effect that the big book talks about? It's what is it that we use to change our mood and our reality? Alcoholics use alcohol, addicts, use meth or coke or heroin. We use our alcoholic foods. So abstinence is the list of your alcoholic foods that is the basis of your addiction. A food plan is just the way you eat, not eating your abstinent food, so that you're not depending on eating by emotion, but just eating by, what is a healthy food plan, and then you get to work the rest of the steps on your emotions.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
When we did the first 6 questions about, the green, red, yellow,
Mm-hmm.
does that mean all those foods are red? Or you haven't really?
That's an excellent question. And what it means is that those are things you need to look at and decide whether those are the things that you need to put on your abstinence list, on your alcoholic foods list, the foods that you're going to not eat, just like an alcoholic doesn't drink alcohol. So those are your alcohol foods. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But you're the one that decides that. Nobody else decides that for you. And if you're not sure, I always tell people, if you're not sure, here, let me stop sharing here. If you're not sure, do the experiment. You'll find out. You'll find out probably pretty quickly. They talk about that in the big book. If you can, stand up and drink like a gentleman, our hats are off to you. But you'll know whether you can eat that particular food, because either you'll go back and back and back until it's gone, or it will trigger a whole nother bout of binging, usually within the next 24 hours. Okay.
Thanks for recovering with us.